That feeling, right? When you're up at 3 a.m. replaying some minor social interaction.
Yeah, that gnawing sense you should have said something different.
Oh, yeah. Or done something else entirely.
Look, let's just be brutally honest for a second. Caring too damn much about every little thing. It's like a first-class ticket to anxiety, total joy killer.
Right.
So today, we're diving headfirst into this kind of radical idea that maybe, just maybe, giving a damn a little less is the key to actually living, a saner life, a more fulfilling one even.
And it's funny because it sounds so counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We're always told, care more about this, about that.
About everything. Yeah.
Exactly. But that constant barrage of things demanding our attention, our concern, it's just a recipe for feeling, well, completely overwhelmed, burnt out.
Totally. And look, before you think this is about becoming some, emotionless robot who doesn't care if the world ends.
No. Pump the brakes. This is about the subtle art, as our source for today brilliantly puts it, of not giving a F about the pointless crap. The stuff that doesn't actually line up with what truly matters to you,
Right.
your values.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can practically hear some folks scoffing, oh, great, another guru telling me to be indifferent. But stick with us for a bit.
Well, if you kind of step back, what we're really talking about is just smart allocation
Right.
of your mental energy, your emotional energy.
Like a budget?
Yeah, kind of. Think of it like a bank account, but for your cares, you've only got so much to spend, you can't just throw it everywhere.
And that's precisely our mission for this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We're pulling inspiration from the very straight-talking wisdom in Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fack.
Right.
We're here to pull out some genuinely useful insights, stuff that can help you get more peace, more focus, just by being way more selective about what gets your precious attention. Okay, so let's unpack the first big one.
Okay. So the fundamental idea, and the book lays this out with, refreshing honesty, is you have a limited supply of F words to give. And if you just scatter them wildly, waste them on every tiny irritation, every expectation someone else has, you're pretty much guaranteed to end up feeling empty and, frankly, pretty miserable.
Right. And Manson nails this with what he calls the feedback loop from hell. Heard of this?
Yeah, tell us about it.
It's this really vicious cycle, so you care about everything, right?
Right.
Which, weirdly, makes you feel kind of entitled to constant comfort, constant happiness.
Like things should always go smoothly.
Exactly. So then when even a tiny bit of friction shows up, like a website loads slow or someone cuts you off in traffic,
Minor stuff.
tiny stuff, it feels like this huge personal insult, an injustice. And then what happens? You care even more about that. And boom, you're spiraling down into negativity faster than, I don't know, a dropped phone. Sound familiar?
Oh, totally. And this actually ties into, basic biology, dissatisfaction, insecurity. Those feelings have been really powerful motivators for us, evolutionarily speaking.
How so?
Well, they signal something's wrong, right? Something needs our attention to survive or get better. So if we're constantly trying to just avoid any discomfort, we actually block those really crucial signals.
Okay, so avoiding the bad stuff actually backfires.
In a way, yeah. And this leads to something really interesting the book points out. Subtlety number 2, he calls it. To genuinely not give a fack about adversity, about the small stuff, you first have to give a fack about something more important than that adversity.
Okay, so it's not about not caring. It's about what you care about.
Exactly. Think about it. That person losing their mind over a delayed coffee order, maybe it's because in that moment, that coffee has become disproportionately important in their world. There's nothing bigger anchoring them.
Right. But if your focus is on, say, finishing a big project or your family's well-being,
then the small frustrations they naturally shrink, don't they? It's about having a hierarchy, what truly deserves your energy.
So let's get real for a second for you listening right now. What are some things you might be stressing way too much about? Things that, if you're really honest, don't actually align with what you deeply value.
Maybe it's like keeping up with every fleeting trend on social media.
Or obsessing over every single comment people make about you. Yeah.
And the book connects this directly to maturity. It says maturity is, it's learning through trial and error what actually matters in the long run versus what's just noise.
Learning what's truly thick-worthy, as he puts it.
Pretty much. There's real wisdom in reserving your worry, your facts, for what genuinely warrants them.
Okay, so we're getting it. Not giving a fack isn't about laziness, it's strategic focus. Now let's tackle another kind of mind bender from the book, where happiness actually comes from. Because it might not be what we think.
Right. The common wisdom is usually that happiness is, the absence of problems, this kind of blissful state of constant ease, smooth sailing.
Okay, sounds nice. Sign me up.
Oh. But the book basically throws a wrench in that whole idea. It argues that happiness actually comes from the process of solving problems.
Wait, what? Happiness from problems?
Yeah.
That sounds, kind of messed up. Like the universe has a sick sense of humor.
I know, but think about it. The book emphasizes that problems are like a constant in life. They never truly stop.
Okay, that part I believe.
Right. You conquer one, and guess what? Another one pops up. Maybe a bigger one, maybe just a different one. It's how we grow. Improving skills, relationships, career. It all involves overcoming new obstacles.
So it's not about reaching some mythical problem-free paradise, because, spoiler alert,
doesn't exist, exactly.
So, what then? If it's not about getting rid of problems.
It's about actively engaging with them. Happiness isn't something you just passively receive, like a gift. It's an activity. It's the action of tackling challenges, navigating them. An active pursuit. Yeah. And the book even suggests that those negative emotions we try so desperately to avoid, they actually play a crucial role here.
Okay, now you're really pushing it. Negative emotions.
Yeah.
Helpful. Seriously.
Think of them less as punishments and more as like internal alarm systems.
Yeah.
Biological signals.
Right.
They're signaling that there's an unaddressed issue somewhere. That anxiety you feel before a big presentation, that's your brain kind of yelling, hey, you need to prepare.
Right, okay, I get that.
Or the sadness after a setback. Maybe it prompts reflection, learning, figuring out what went wrong, and positive emotions. Those are like the rewards we get for taking the right action, for solving the problem that triggered the negative feeling.
Okay, I'm starting to see the logic, maybe grudgingly, but come on, we've all felt swamped by negative emotions that just feel awful, like a total dead weight, not some helpful nudge.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the book adds a really important caution. Don't blindly obey every single emotional impulse.
Don't just follow the feeling.
Exactly. Emotions are signposts, maybe directions, but they're not commandments. Just because something feels good right now doesn't mean it is good for you long term. And the opposite is true too. Something might feel uncomfortable, but be necessary for growth.
So we need to question them a bit. Like, okay, anxiety, what are you really trying to tell me here?
Precisely. Develop that habit of interrogating your feelings, understanding their potential message, not just reacting to the sensation.
So, real lasting fulfillment. It's not about dodging the struggle, the problems.
No, it seems it's more about choosing which struggles you're willing to commit to, finding meaning in the challenges you choose to face.
Choosing your struggles, wow.
Yeah, the book puts it pretty bluntly. Real, serious, lifelong fulfillment and meaning have to be earned through the choosing and managing of our struggle.
Okay, it's making a weird kind of sense. So recap, be picky about what gets our precious fix. Find happiness not in avoiding bumps, but in navigating the ones that matter. But how do we even figure out what actually matters? What problems are worth solving for us?
Yeah. That brings us right to the core of it. Our values. The book really stresses that our values are like the foundation. They're the underlying why behind what we care about.
Okay, values. Makes sense.
And if our values are kind of messed up or poorly chosen, then our lives are going to feel constantly out of whack no matter what we achieve on the surface.
But how do we know if our values are good or bad? Isn't that subjective?
Well, the book offers a pretty useful framework, actually. It suggests good values tend to be 1, reality-based, 2, socially constructive, and 3, immediate and controllable.
Okay, break that down. Reality-based, socially constructive, controllable examples.
Sure. So things like honesty, maybe vulnerability, creativity, standing up for yourself, lifelong learning, these are generally within your control, based on how things actually work, and usually benefit you and others.
Right. And bad value.
Bad values are often the opposite, maybe superstitious or based on fantasy, often socially destructive, and crucially, often not immediate or controllable by you.
Like what? Give me some bad ones.
Things like needing to be popular or liked by everyone, or feeling good all the time, or always being the center of attention, or being richer than specific other people. Those depend heavily on external factors or other people's opinions. You can't directly control them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Chasing those seems like a recipe for frustration.
Exactly. The book uses this great contrast between Dave Mustaine from Megadeth and Pete Best, the original Beatles drummer.
Oh, yeah. What's the story there?
Well, Mustaine, even though Megadeth was hugely successful, apparently remained kind of miserable because his core value or metric became being more successful than Metallica, the band he got kicked out of.
That's rough. And out of his control, mostly.
Totally. Whereas Pete Best, after getting fired right before the Beatles exploded, which must have stung, right?
Understatement, yeah.
He eventually shifted his values, focused on family, a stable life, finding joy in simpler things, and by his own accounts, found real contentment, even without the insane fame and fortune.
Wow. That's a powerful comparison. It's not just about what happens to you.
Right. It's about the internal measuring stick you're using, the values you choose to define success and happiness for yourself. And the amazing thing is, we actually have the power to choose and adjust that measuring stick.
We control the meaning.
Yes. The book puts it like this. Problems may be inevitable, but the meaning of each problem is not. We get to control what our problems mean based on how we choose to think about them, the standard by which we choose to measure them.
Okay. Choose our flux, find happiness in solving the right problems, root ourselves in good values. What's the last key piece here? Feels like there's one more element.
Yeah, there is, and it's a big one. Embracing discomfort and taking responsibility.
Discomfort and responsibility, not exactly warm and fuzzy concepts.
No, not always. But the book argues that the difference between a problem that crushes you and one that actually empowers you often comes down to this. Do you feel like you chose it on some level, and are you responsible for dealing with it?
Responsibility. Okay, but what about stuff that genuinely isn't our fault? Like you get laid off or someone treats you badly. How can you be responsible for that?
That's where the book makes a really critical distinction. It separates fault from responsibility. Fault is about the past who caused the thing. Responsibility is about the present. What are you going to do about it now?
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, say someone leaves a baby on your doorstep. It's absolutely not your fault.
Right.
Definitely not. But now that baby is your responsibility. You have to choose how to respond, call the authorities, find help, etc. The situation landed on you, and you're responsible for your reaction, your next steps, even though you didn't cause it.
Okay, I see the difference. Fault is past, responsibility is present action, owning our response.
Exactly. And this applies to our feelings, too. It's easy to fall into blaming others. You made me feel angry. But the book suggests that taking responsibility for our own emotions, even when they're triggered by someone else, is actually way more empowering. It allows us to learn and grow instead of just being victims of circumstance.
That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes. But I can see how it leads to more control.
It does. And the book highlights incredible examples like Malala Yousafzai. Faced with unimaginable adversity, she chose responsibility, chose her values, and acted on them. That's where real strength comes from.
Okay, so taking responsibility, even when it's hard. What about the discomfort part? Embracing discomfort.
Well, it ties into that idea of problems and growth. Growth usually involves stepping outside your comfort zone, and it also connects to something called the do something principle.
The do something principle.
See, often we wait around, waiting for motivation to strike before we tackle something hard or uncomfortable.
Guilty, yeah.
But the book argues that action isn't just the effect of motivation, it can also be the cause of it. Sometimes, even when you feel lost or unmotivated, just doing something, anything really, related to the problem can spark the momentum and clarity you need.
Like jump-starting a car. Just get the engine turning, even a little.
Exactly like that. Don't wait for inspiration, just start moving, even in a small way, and the motivation often follows. Embrace that initial discomfort of starting.
Okay, that makes sense. Action breeds motivation.
And maybe just briefly, on a deeper level, the book touches on ideas from Ernest Becker about how sometimes our values are driven by these deep-seated fears, like our fear of death. Questioning those deeper drives, well, it can help us choose values more freely, maybe more authentically, but that's getting pretty deep.
Yeah, maybe a topic for another day. Right. This has been, wow, a lot of really solid, if slightly uncomfortable, wisdom packed in here.
It definitely challenges conventional thinking.
It does. So for everyone listening who's nodding along, maybe feeling a bit called out and ready to, stop sweating the small stuff and focus on what actually matters, what are some concrete things they can do, like today?
Okay, yeah, let's get practical. Here are a few things. First, maybe just identify one thing that's been eating up way too much of your mental energy lately, something you're giving way too many fracks about.
Okay, got one in mind.
Now ask yourself, really honestly, why does this truly deserve so much of your limited attention? Does it align with those good values we talked about?
Good question. Okay, what's next?
Second, think about a current problem you're facing. Doesn't have to be huge. Now, identify one small, totally manageable action you can take towards addressing it. Today, even if it feels tiny, just do something.
Okay, small action, break it down. Like it. What else?
Third, take just a minute to reflect on one of your core values, maybe one you think guides you a lot. Ask, is it reality-based? Is it constructive? Is it actually within my control?
Good check-in.
And if the answer's kind of shaky on any of those, maybe just consider how you could reframe it slightly to make it stronger, more aligned with those principles.
Nice. And one more.
Yeah, final one. Identify one small discomfort you've been avoiding. Maybe it's an overdue phone call. Maybe trying that slightly intimidating task at work. Maybe just speaking up about something small. Commit to facing just that one small discomfort today. Lean into it a little.
Great practical homework. Seriously, everyone, think about it. What mental space, what emotional space would open up in your life if you deliberately pruned away the things you think you should care about, but honestly, they just drain you? That's your assignment.
It really is about reclaiming your focus, your energy, your facts, I guess, for what truly aligns with your values and helps you grow.
Well said. Thanks for diving deep into this with us. It's given me a lot to think about.
Me too. Good stuff.
Absolutely. Until our next conversation, keep those facts fiercely guarded, people, and make sure they're well spent.